Thanks for inviting me to Riga and for moderating this session on the Metaverse. And we have quite a good and exciting panel here, so I hope that we can entertain you for 1 hour. That will be no challenge. Let me first start with just asking for a few introductions. If you could just maybe say a few words about who you are and why you're here and your interest in Metaverse. So I start from over there. Gattis, please.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, my name is Gattis Sozos. I'm Deputy State Secretary for Digital Transformation on the ministry, which is responsible for horizontal digital policy in Latvia. So we are the ministry also responsible for regional development. So we are very interested to see the development of Metaverse as a concept, so we could see what are the role of the government to put the regulatory things into to enable this, not to restrict the development of the Metaverse. And of course, we see that at the current moment, municipalities play a very big role on piloting, on setting up the initial kind of use cases. So we are here with municipality as well.
Thank you. Christina, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Christina Yanzhang and the CEO of the Metaverse Institute. I started the journey of the Metaverse a little bit early, since 2006, when I was doing my master dissertation using Second Life, the world's first Metaverse platform, to develop international strategies for universities worldwide. And then I continue my research using digital twins, another buzzword, in the Metaverse environment to simulate, optimize construction engineering architectural projects, which I completed in 2012. Currently, I'm working very closely with my colleagues, Pilar and Per, etc., in the ITU. So I'm co-chairman for the ITU task group for Cityverse. So we're trying to looking at how to define and develop the future of city where we put the human-centered, approach as everything we are doing to ensure inclusivity and sustainability. And my co-chairman is Christina from the European Commission. Very nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Christina. Pilar.
Okay, my name is Pilar Orero. I work at Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona, and I've been working all my life on accessibility. By that, I mean how humans communicate between each other, how humans communicate when they can't communicate. For example, if I was deaf, I wouldn't be able to communicate with you, or if I was blind, I wouldn't know. So if I was a refugee and didn't speak the language, if I was a tourist. So not only just people with disabilities, but people in, how do I communicate with my teenage son? Impossible. But anyway, this is, so imagine communicating in the Metaverse. But anyway, that's what I do, trying to find alternative communication. And in the Metaverse, where I am co-chairing with Egypt, accessibility and sustainability. What we're trying to do is to, very early on, in fact, already are available, some guidelines on how to make the Metaverse accessible for all. So what services should be deployed from day zero when you start designing the Metaverse, so we can communicate in different languages. For example, in the Metaverse. So I could speak Catalan and you could speak Swedish and would be meeting there and communicated in our different languages.
Sounds very exciting. Thanks, Pilar, for the introduction. Walter, please.
Hello, I'm very excited to be here with you because I'm passionate about something. I'm passionate about applying technology to solving difficult problems in healthcare, and the Metaverse gives us a platform to reach and extend that. My background is that I have a diverse background. I've somehow managed to keep 5 different career incarnations going. I'm a research scientist, a behavioral neuroscientist, focused on mental health, behavioral health. I'm also a technologist. I got involved in virtual reality technology back in 1987. I was part of the debate as to what to call it, and I lost the vote on that. I had a different name in mind. I'm also a technologists focused on wearable sensors, machine learning, and analytics so that we can do a better job of diagnosing and providing therapies to people, both in person and through telemedicine. I also have founded several medical product companies with successful exits and work as a business advisor and neuroscience advisor to some of the larger healthcare networks and a few of the medical product companies such as pharma companies and medical device companies. Excited to be here with you.
Thanks, Walter. And Rolf, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. My name is Rolf Werner. I run the European business for Nokia. And Nokia is probably, as you all know, for a long time an innovation leader in the B2B industry. We have rebranded our company just recently with new colors, new logo. Not only that, it's of course the way our customers, our partners should see us in a much different way, where we are saying, well, think of networks of sensing, thinking, and acting. That's much of a difference. It, of course, leads into the metaverse discussion we have here, and being much more than an equipment provider, we would like to create the future of the world and the society, and how we can improve all that with the metaverse is definitely great to discuss today with you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rolf. And I think that our last panelist, she is online, Cristina Martinez. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Very sorry for the slight delay. I think I had a time schedule issue. So I'm very happy to be here with you today. Hello.
Thank you. So could you just give us a short introduction of who you are?
Yes, so my name is Cristina Martinez. I'm the Deputy Head of Technologies for Smart Community, which is an area supporting the development of new technologies for a purpose. And that purpose is to serve local authorities in Europe, but also citizens, and help them transform themselves into more sustainable and also fit for the digital era type of society. So we have a lot of initiatives. Perhaps I can explain later.
Thank you. Thanks, Christina. Maybe I should just say a few words who I am. So my name is Fröjdh. I work for Ericsson. My background is in technology. I've been working a lot with video compression and immersive video. So I've been working with virtual reality and augmented reality from the technology side and standardization side for quite some time. Nowadays, I lead standards projects, and in particular, I am the overall lead for ITU from Ericsson. And in ITU, I've been engaged for quite some time in Study Group 16, which is the multimedia group in ITUT. And I'm also the vice chair of this focus group on Metaverse that has been mentioned a couple of times. We have 6 interesting panelists, and today we are at 5G Techritory, so there will be a European focus. So what are the expectations from a European side on the Metaverse? Any needs? And we know that in Europe we have keywords like openness and safety and respect. So I think these are important aspects, and if we build a standard, how do we take these into account? Also things, user rights and privacy and ethical considerations. So from a European side, this is also important when we form the Metaverse. So, and this is also the 5G Techritory. So I come from a network company, so 5G is bread and butter for us, and we have 6G in the horizon, and so for me, I see 5G and 6G as a unique platform to enable the metaverse. We can build a lot on top of it, but there are so many other aspects that come into play. So I hope that we can have this diverse conversation here today. So let me start with asking some questions. Please, Rolf. So what is the importance of getting the metaverse right on smart city evolution?
Yeah, well, interesting enough what we just heard here in the former presentation, there was a lot mentioned about the smart cities. For me, smart city and metaverse is a logical combination. It's just fantastic to see the way we could build up and create a digital twin as a full city. And when we think about the fact that more and more people live in cities, so today there are roughly 55% of people living in cities. By 2050, it's probably 75%. And what's going to happen? You have only 2% of the Earth's surface covered by cities, if you will, And at the same time, 75% of all of the resources we're using in these cities. So a very, very condensed way of living when it comes to traffic, pollution, healthcare, all about the situation when it comes to education, the way we're moving around, the way we're using public services. We saw all the examples just here, but I want to give you some, let's say, surrounding statistics there. So us driving forward, the way we are using connectivity in the future, the way we could augment the reality, the way we could use the metaverse, we have in Nokia a few ideas about how to do that in the smart cities, which I would love to elaborate in a later stage, but I just give you the teaser here for now, as you know, responding to your question. But as such, I think most important is to solve the challenges we have in the future about cities and the population moving into the urban areas. Only very good connectivity is going to enable that we can live the way we live today and don't have people slipping below the poverty line, which can easily happen once you don't apply digital transformation in smart cities.
Thank you, Rolf. I think maybe this would be a good time to ask Christina Martinez online. So you also work with Cityverse and smart cities, I believe. So why did the Commission coin this term, Cityverse?
Well, I think that this relates probably to the policy framework and the value system in which the Commission is deploying the digital transformation. We wanted to have a description of what we call the next Web 4.0 technology that was developed around citizens and for citizens. So I think it is a definition that is perhaps moving away from the natural evolution of technology, but looking more at how do we blend different technologies for the purpose of helping citizens to get access to better services, to better education, to perhaps improve healthcare systems. And therefore we wanted to insist not on the city dimension, but on the citizen, let's say, symbol. And the Commission came with this idea of a new definition when we launched a project. Actually, it was an initiative under the Digital Europe work program to move away from the simple digitalization of cities through digital twins, but to add a layer of immersiveness there. And so we came with this nice idea, which was actually inspired by ISO and IEEE definitions on the fact that this could be a series of interconnected worlds representing their physical counterparts. That is very important. We're not talking here about a pure virtual world, which can offer services, goods like gaming, social dating online, socializing, and so on and so forth, within virtual environments with digital avatars, but that would always keep this link with the physical life. And so very important to now reflect on the policy impacts of a Cityverse that is already benefiting of a very robust legal framework in Europe. We have a number of EU legislation that is support several aspects, like the Data Act or the AI Act that is currently discussed with the Council. We are also dealing with a very strong regulation that protects personal data in virtual worlds, or even rights and obligations for services and companies who can use the context of Digital Services Act and the Digital Market Act to understand what are the protection and enforcement issues. So we also have consumer law. I mean, we have a very robust framework, I think, that can support the development of this type of initiative, but we needed to experiment about it. So this is why we've launched a call that is still open, actually, as we speak, in this context, which will see new projects coming on top of existing digital twins and propose services and experiment also on services and goods that can bring benefits. So for me, this is one of the most important aspects of this new concept. I'll stop here, but I'm happy to take new questions if you want.
Thank you, Christina. Yeah, I'm sure we will get back to you later. I'm very happy that you can join us even if you are online. So while we are on the government level, let me move over to Gatis. So you represent the Latvian government. And so what is the standpoint from your government on the concept of the metaverse? Or are there any measures you take to foster the development of the metaverse? Or if you could elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, of course. I think when we speak about metaverse, we can speak it in two modes. Like one mode is like we speak of in a narrow sense of some specific applications that was mentioned, like in specific sectors like medicine or military or even the city. And then the other one on the broader scale, maybe we see as a next generation interaction. It's more like technology. It's way how we add additional layer or fabric to our social like communication matters, when we can go across the different use cases, across the different metaverses or cityverses, and see it as like a second or 3D internet where physical things are real in persistent in digital kind of environment, and vice versa, where digital things are persistent in the physical environment all the time. So we can talk in both of those concepts. I think at the first one we are already doing some piloting and doing some pilots, and that's very good. And of course we have to strive for this universal kind of general kind of application. I believe that there will be more natural to use it as a augmented reality use case rather than pure virtual reality. But we'll see. From government perspective point, I think that we have to be ready. Technology comes, we can do something, we cannot also do nothing, but technology will come. I think the previous discussions about laying foundations on principles, that's one important thing for government, so that we start from the scratch the things in the right way. For Metaverse, like to achieve this second, more like a general approach on Metaverse, I think it's important to have these interoperability issues to be like tackled already from the beginning, and to see that there is sharing and interoperability aspects taken into account. Of course, government's role is also to put this strategic priority, conceptualize, and that's I'm happy that we have in EU this memorandum and communication on Metaverse. We last year during the 5G territory, we also signed a memorandum of understanding of local ecosystem or city of Riga. There are infrastructure providers, government, and other participants which are ready to cooperate for and engage on Metaverse development. And today we have an ITU workshop later during the day. Of course, the government has to be open-minded for regulation, future-proof regulation. We see that a lot of things we can apply. Maybe we need to just extrapolate this to the metaverse or digital environment, but still this will require some legal kind of creativity. And I think it's very important that government takes this into account, just not to fast regulate, but to enable by the regulation the possibility. And we see that also for the so specific use cases we have in cities, we need maybe local level of regulation to put in place. Of course, funding and support the different initiatives. The Commission already mentioned there are calls open, and there are different, we have to pool different resources on local government, on regional. We have like a Baltic Sea region projects tackling this issue, and also EU, so we can work on those issues, because at the moment they are not bringing benefits or fruits, so we're still in the piloting phase, so there is important to have this financing. And also different kind of other support that we can provide from government side. We see that in Latvia, for example, in municipal level, we have city of Kuldiga. They have a piloting project on arts and cultural heritage in virtual environment, or we have on Ministry of Defense supporting and cooperation with our telecom operator LMT that 5G virtual reality, augmented reality test site, military test site developed. So government can contribute also without maybe financing, but supporting those initiatives. And of course, capacity building, education, skills. We have to rethink what are we providing for our citizens. We had discussion that we have a challenge of basic digital skills, but now we have to also cross and also think about the skills how people would have in the metaverse to develop those applications and also to use. So we didn't create additional a meta gap. We have digital gap, so we don't need a meta gap. We need to take into account it. And of course, standardization, cooperation, because if we speak about these digital environments, they are not anymore local. If we speak about property rights and such things, we have to go global from the beginning. So standardization, cooperation on international level is essential from the government side, I believe.
Thank you, Gatis. So maybe so how does all this happen? So Christina here in the room, Yang Zhang, could you maybe explain for us sort of what are the emerging technologies that can help the metaverse to achieve its full potential in the EU?
I think there is quite a wide range of technologies which are converging at the points we are speaking. But I think it's really important that I echo the minister's points. How we clearly define the metaverse is still a question lots of people keep on asking all the time. And for us, I really think the metaverse is the next generation of the internet, where it's more immersive, interactive, and intuitive. It's a place with decentralized power to allow the citizen, as my colleague Christina has mentioned in the European Commission, how we really meet the increasing needs of our people to put them at the center of any kind of digital future we are developing is absolutely crucial. And at this moment, there are many different layers of the metaverse. And I would say traditionally we say public-private partnership, but maybe for the metaverse vision for Europe, we can have a people, public, private, and planet partnership. So that would be 4P. We need to look at how we meet the needs of individual citizens and also ensure when we develop the future is not at the cost of our sustainable future. So I think that's quite important. And there are quite a few interesting technologies which are helping to address this issue. And the first thing is we really need more immersive user interface, which people can really interact 24/7. I mean, VR handset is amazing, and I absolutely love it. But I mean, if I wear it for more than 1 hour, I start to feel a little bit dizzy, I got headache. So maybe that's not, immersive and comfortable enough. What else can we do? Of course, I mean, Apple has this Vision Pro coming out, which is very exciting, and everyone's talking about it. And but what's even more exciting at this moment is championed by a gentleman called Elon Musk. We know in June this year, his brain-computer interface, Neuralink, has eventually got the approval from the US government to start human trial. Of course, a lot of brain-computer interface at this moment is mainly to do with medical conditions. So if you suffer from Alzheimer's and you are blind and you lost your mobility and you want to regain part of the function, which through traditional medicine, or surgery is impossible. So that kind of area is quite frontier for a lot of countries. And we all know he's not the first person to try to do it. There's another company in the United States with investment backing from Jeff Bezos of Amazon and Bill Gates from Microsoft. So they're looking at non-invasive brain-computer interface where they use graphene to connect the neural links and provide people who lost their mobility to be able to gain mobility again, which is really amazing. But the latest development in the field is actually developed by a group of top scientists in China by Tsinghua University. So they actually develop a system where you can put the brain-computer interface in your inner ear without any surgery at all, but it can achieve the same kind of mechanism, which is really impressive. And I know, Walter, you're working on mental health for many years. Another really interesting thing I noticed is there are some top hospitals in China. They use brain-computer interface to treat serious depression with 60% increase of performance of the patients, which is quite impressive. So maybe in the future, when it becomes non-invasive, just like my pearl earring, we can wear it, or maybe our Fitbits, everyone can wear their own immersive technology without the concern we need to wear something which is less intuitive. So that's the first thing we think can be really powerful. The second bit, which is getting very interesting as we are all talking about, computing power. I remember a report from Intel mentioned 2 years ago, in order to achieve the full potential of the metaverse, we need at least another 1,000 times computing power. So where do we find that? Obviously, I mean, the previous panel talking about various developments in that space. But also, we know quantum computing is providing really tangible solution in the space. I remember in 2019 when Google announced they achieved quantum supremacy. They developed this computer which can run 160 million times faster than any supercomputer we have at this moment. And that means for something really complicated in the past, it will require 10,000 years to calculate. Now it's only 4 minutes. But what's even more striking is the second generation, which was announced this year. And that latest version is even 200 million times than the previous version 4 years ago. So you can see the technology is advancing in a way which has been never possible before. So there is something really interesting here. Bosch, we know, is a huge technology giant based in Germany with global presence. And they become the world's first technology company to champion the idea of creating a quantum digital twin on their global operation to connecting more than 250,000 devices to optimize their whole operations with quite significant results, 25% efficiency increase. Consider there are 88 billion annual turnover, so we're talking about 20 billion annual improvement, which is quite significant. And how we can deploy that on what my colleagues Christina in the EU and also Nokia, we're talking about Cityverse. That would be quite significant, right? And I would say the third area we are all very concerned is, and excited is AI. Because a lot of people are saying generative AI actually, take away all the investment and excitement about Metaverse since it's rise in November last year. But what's really happening is actually quite the contrary. A recent report from Sequoia Capital noticed that when we develop, POM using text-to-text, generative AI-related technology, now the latest development is more than just text-to-image, text-to-video, but start to be text-to-3D objects, avatars, environments, which means generative AI start to become the most powerful building block for the whole metaverse digital twin ecosystem at scale, which allow us to build in a way which is faster, cheaper, and easier than never before. And my final point is we are all concerned about environment impact. And we know currently there has been lots of debates and saying how far should we running the simulation of metaverse and how's that environment impact, especially running very powerful computer and the data center, etc. And I'm very delighted to report that actually, again, it's from our colleagues in European Commission. You guys have this really amazing idea to provide 2 million euro funding to looking at how we can put the data center in the outer space to reduce the carbon emission, because we all know in the outer space, the temperature is freezing cold. So that's ongoing till about April next year. And also another thing which I find really fascinating, everyone's talking about, is nuclear fusion. We all know that with that in power, we actually can produce carbon emission-free electricity, which can potentially power the whole planet by another 10,000 years. If we can achieve that, a lot of discussion we talk about sustainability can be solved. But we need to be a little bit patient, and we need to wait till about 2030. So what else can we do? And then Microsoft and Harvard, MIT, and also some of the top university in Europe, they have come together to create a consortium to looking at how to use DNA to store data. And there has been a number of publications on Nature magazine to looking at how we can commercialize that. from now to about in the next 5 years. And what was really significant, one professor who is leading that project in MIT basically said, DNA is the most reliable and energy efficient data storage materials we can find on planet Earth. You might remember we all watched the movie Jurassic Park, where how it all started is like we extract the DNA of the dinosaur from the mosquitoes in the amber, and then it's stored for more than hundreds of years. So I think there are like lots of things we can do now to really empower the whole metaverse ecosystem and make our people happy, make our society prosperous. Thank you.
Thank you. So, wow, I'm almost overwhelmed. There are so many emerging technologies happening, and you really scared me when you suggested surgery. I'm not ready for that yet. So let's hope that we can interact with the metaverse through these inserts in the ear instead, or maybe contact lenses or glasses. Or
earring.
Yeah,
or
earring,
50.
yes.
Yeah.
So with all these technologies, so how do we counterpart this? There are so many other aspects. It's not just technology. So here, I would like to talk, maybe I'll start with Pilar. So how can we guarantee that this metaverse promotes the EU principles? And I'm talking about diversity, I'm talking about things related to people, language, culture, all the other, I don't know if soft is the right word, but all the other aspects from the EU. I don't know
hard.
If you could elaborate on this.
Those are hard problems.
Well, that's almost impossible. The nice thing about Europe is that we are united in diversity. Now, how you translate that into the metaverse, I think, is challenging. Everything that you said is fantastic, but nowhere the human is there. I mean, the human. We've heard before that it was 50% of Europeans don't have access to digital. So imagine how many percent of Europeans have access to the metaverse. And probably it will get worse. So rather than having an open metaverse, we must go for a welcoming metaverse. So I think the metaverse has got to make an effort, a really good effort to understand who are we, not as personas, not as these stereotypes of humans that then they can design and create systems, but really as who we are. And I think artificial intelligence can help a lot to understand who are you when you enter the metaverse, how you interact with the head-mounted device, how you activate the head-mounted device, how you activate the media player. And by these activations, with preserving the data, sort of because in Europe they were terrible, you have to be very careful with the data and the data protection. So how does the human activate and interacts every time that it has to go through head-mounted display with the media player, learn who is the human at that moment and how does the human can interact. I think we must have a welcoming, not just open, a welcoming, diverse metaverse where all of us can be represented by gender, by culture, by language, by all that in each moment, because it is not the same when I am in my lab with my eye tracker calibrating it than when I am watching a Formula One thing on the television. My brain doesn't work the same. I am not the same persona. So though you might have tagged me as this 60-year-old fat Spaniard, I am not, because I might be that good at Formula One and you didn't know that. So at each time you behave in a different way. I don't know if to say anything else. I think we have to, something good that we have done at ITU is, I said that before, we've already created some sort of basic guidelines on how to take into consideration humans and develop, whatever you're developing, develop it, but taking into account that you are developing that for a human. The human has got to interact in an intuitive way, yes, but has to eventually get in. Otherwise, the gap is going to be bigger, broader. We are going to be undiverse. We're going to be... So we don't want this metaverse that is just for a few young people, because that's what the data... I mean, you're creating a database. Sorry, you're creating a metaverse modeled on large data. But in fact, the interesting bit is in the disaggregated data. That's the spice, that's the salt of the earth. So I think it's the disaggregated data that is going to make this diverse metaverse in Europe. Let's be positive. It's going to be fantastic. And I'll be very old, and I'll be in the metaverse, having great parties with my friends, and I won't have solitude, and I won't feel lonely, and it will be really comforting and great. But I need to get in, and I need to interact, and I need to be able to do that. So please create a metaverse for humans. Don't talk about this, no. Think of the humans that we are going to enter the metaverse. That's my...
Thank you, Pilar. I'm really happy that you are fighting for diversity and the humans here, because we also have to have that side of the equation if it's going to resolve. And so this is also an aspect, Walter, for you. So there are so many inherent aspects of the metaverse that really make it difficult for us to maintain the standards that we're used to in terms of privacy, safety, and respect for an honest discourse. So maybe could you elaborate on challenges or possible ways to reduce such harm or risks?
Absolutely. And we're working hard on some of those issues. It's really a matter of good design, and sometimes you need incentives to go further on your design the right way. So,
absolutely. And we are so guidance. Intelligent. Why don't we do it?
We will.
Thank you.
We will, with input. To answer your question, I think there is a big issue that we have yet to really come up with effective solutions on, and that's the nonverbal communication that we need to build into the universe, into the metaverse, for us to interact effectively with each other. We convey so much with facial expressions, body language, also through voice tone, and that often can get stripped away. And one of the reasons Zoom calls, video conferencing calls, have been stressful for people is we don't have the usual dynamics of not just looking straight at a person, but really scanning the room. It's limited our ability to communicate with each other in a non-stressful manner. And as we move to the metaverse, we need to make sure our representations can convey our emotions and also other aspects that we want to convey to other people clearly, yet we will also have the ability to filter that if we choose to. Right now, if I meet someone in the metaverse, they probably look like a bit of a robot. They may not have their whole body. They certainly don't have good facial expressions and communication in a sophisticated manner. I'm excited by the fact that we are now developing the new tools that will look at eye gaze, facial expression, voice tone, and we can use it for very effective assessments and interventions in the field of mental health and behavioral health. So all too long, we've been limited by paper and pencil testing or asking someone a question about how they're feeling and how they're doing. We haven't until recently had the objective measurements of emotional status and cognitive status. We need to, Pilar, to your point, be able to adapt our refrigerators, our automobiles, our metaverse to our status, our goals, our predilections. However, the algorithms, the analytics, the ways that we will be doing this are also going to put us in the position that data can be used to sell us things, that data can be used to interfere with our behavior, that data can be used in an adverse way by people that are out to not support our individuality and our priorities. So we have to start by designing right now the right way to leverage the power of the technologies we need to develop on that side of the metaverse, yet also protect it so it's not overused. And Pilar, to your point about the data, I think we will certainly be using a federated data management approach to taking all this very important information of affective and cognitive state and share it so that we can use it diagnostically for what we're calling precision mental health, precision healthcare. But we also need to make sure that that data is under our control, have our own agency over our data. There are structures that need to be put in place to incentivize people to share data for the good of healthcare, for the good of the community, but also to make sure that it's super protected. And I do worry with an aging population, we have maybe 10, maybe 15 years before a worse economic crisis than global warming will hit. And that's the cost of supporting an aging population with 3 out of every 7 of us having a neurodementia disease. As we live longer with smaller family sizes, we're going to have an economic catastrophe unless we can leverage technologies that we were going to use to build the metaverse to support people aging in place so they can play Formula 7 racing as long as they'd like. So there's great opportunities for taking the building blocks of the metaverse and applying it to difficult problems, but there's also great risk. And I think what we often do not focus on is building that way of having our own identity be protected, yet be able to share the parts of our identity as we choose to other people with the right filters, the right customization. And we really have not had a chance to do the effective building blocks on that. In addition to the challenge of dealing with an aging population and smaller family sizes, we also have another pandemic on the way, and that's the mental health pandemic. Many of our children went through a very stressful time, as many of us did, but they did not have an opportunity to play with other children as much as they should have, develop the social, emotional learning skills they needed to have. And there's a huge epidemic, we already see it in the children's hospitals, of anxiety and depression in our youth. So how can we leverage the building blocks of the metaverse, design it so that we can support mental health and wellness, and also make sure that the data that we are collecting to do that is used and protected effectively. It's a challenge, but I think meetings like this will help us move to that. And I feel that Europe, in particular, has set the standard for looking at these issues, and I'm so excited to be learning from you as I'm here today.
Thanks, Walter. I think that's a lot of food for thought, something that we need to consider, and not only the technology, so very good aspects.
Can I tell you something that I just thought? Do you remember 10, 20 years ago when we bought anything that it was digital, that it was the plug and play, and it became plug and pray because it never worked?
Right.
Let's hope the metaverse is not a plug and pray, but welcome you because he knows that you're coming in. And yeah, so this plug and pray, we have to try not to avoid it.
I think we need to look to our storytellers, to our creative teams. One of the powers, I think, of technology as applied to healthcare, to design of cities, to any of our hard problems, is we need to make it fun. We need to make it interesting. We need to put a layer of storytelling on top of it.
Absolutely.
In order to be attractive and welcoming, we need to have...
and it could be such a fantastic tool, such a fantastic ecosystem environment for all of us to be there. Not just the game players, but for us to inhabit and have a... I see it as a fantastic time if I am allowed in, if I am welcomed in, if I don't have to plug and pray anything, because that would be terrible. It would be like going back again, you know? We haven't learned anything.
Well, I think that one of the things that we have learned is how to attract people and get them addicted to something.
Absolutely.
And what we need to do is understand how that works and make sure as we design for inclusiveness and attractiveness to bring people in, that we also design to make sure that it's something that is a part of supporting a healthy life and an interconnected life in a good way, and does not cause the downstream problems of anxiety, depression, other issues that can, unless we design for it, will be built into our system.
Can I add a point there?
Sure, of course.
Only if it's a nice one.
Yes.
I'm positive.
No brain surgery.
I'm a very positive person.
Good.
So don't worry about that. I think it's very interesting. We talk a lot about how we address the aging society through metaverse. And I mean, the previous panel talking about how actually on the individual citizens level, we can use avatar to allow them to see if they live a more responsible consumption lifestyle, say they eat less red meats and maybe, you know, they exercise a little bit more. If that's going to allow them to see how they look like in 5-10 years time, if they eat 20% less, you know, like non-healthy food, and they are going to look much younger, and they can see that I think that will be really powerful using digital twins.
We've done some work on that at our research lab, creating an avatar of your future self. And you can have a dialogue with your future self. You can put information dynamically about your exercise, your activity levels, who you're socializing with, how much money you're making or how much money you're spending, how much alcohol you're drinking. All that information can be given to your future self.
But what if I don't want to be that? What if my avatar is a very tall, blonde man?
Yes.
How would you know that I am not me?
Right, but you get to design your future self, and that's the point, is we can give you feedback.
I can design my future self as that.
Yeah. So on that note, play and pray and future self, and are we all blonde, tall people?
Yes,
and
with lots of hair.
And I want to connect to Rolf because
I'm not tall, blonde.
No, but I want to ask you: will the
but I could be, you know.
Will the metaverse replace the physical world?
Well, good question. First of all, I'd like to elaborate on what you just said when it comes to protecting mental health. We've all been, since it was a global, of course, phenomenon in the pandemic days and years, of course. And I recall there was a big discussion around in how far, children are still able to maintain their social interactions. And I give you the example of, because you just mentioned a teenage son, how to communicate. Usually they sit there, they eat, they do sports, they come home, they don't talk much. But, the way I have observed it in the pandemic days was my son being extremely communicative whilst he had the headphones on with the PlayStation. In 3 languages, by the way. So he's bilingual from the family, and he also speaks English. So I was like, who do you speak to? Because I thought it was about the game as such, but I was not aware he's communicating whilst he was playing with maybe 10, 12, 15 kids at the same time, worldwide. And I said, that's amazing. He even found friends in these days he could meet after, we were coming out of the lockdown. So that supported big time to, get away from the problems of maybe not having social interactions, which, of course, if you go beyond that, the metaverse will help. Then you have avatars, they can meet there. It's much faster because they maybe don't have to commute. They can do homework at home, and of course then can do other stuff whilst they're online. So these are possibilities for the children. And of course, it will provide the possibilities for elderly people then to get into the metaverse and, play chess, do this, play cards, and so forth. And the whole thing depends on in how far all of these devices, which you mentioned, will be applied. So by the way, I really love the discussion here. So it's amazing.
We should ask, thanks to the policies.
Of course, the policies we need as well. We need definitely. So coming back to your question, of course. Sorry.
No, thank you, Rolf. And thanks, everyone. Sorry, I think I lost my connectivity.
You need network.
You gave a good example of cross-cultural connectivity and breaking through economic and age barriers through the metaverse.
Correct. No, it's true.
So I think I'm back. So while we are talking about all these use cases and your kid is talking to people all over the world, so if I hand it back to the Commission, Christina, are you still with us? So from your side...
Very carefully listening.
Yes. So from your side, what are the promising use cases for the metaverse? Or the cityverse, maybe, in your case?
Thank you for your question. If I may, I'd like to perhaps react to what I've heard previously, because I think it's important that we frame also this discussion into what we have in Europe. And this is perhaps a promotion time for me. I would like to sell the strategy that the European Commission has released in July, because I think it's it's making a lot of important points that were mentioned today, regarding the way we want to, embrace this transformation of our society and offer all these exciting opportunities to elderly and young people at the same time. We need to be mindful that there are a number of challenges ahead. that these challenges will have to do not only with the legislation that I mentioned previously, but also with a number of technical choices that we will have to make, and we will need to be very, sensitive to the design of those technologies. We're of course supporting an open, decentralized approach on the future, let's say, solutions, networks, protocols, and standards that will be created out of these new necessary technologies, because we heard before they still need to evolve. We're not there yet. So for me, what it means is that we need to have a very strong coordination at European level, work hand in hand with industry, and make sure that we have a common understanding of what are those key elements in terms of openness, in terms of fairness, in terms of access to the technology, and this starts with the design. So the discussions that are taking place at this moment are very important, because we're defining together what would be those open standards and those open architectures that we would like to use as the foundation for these future cityverse environments. Now, coming to your, and by the way, I think it is very important perhaps to look at the citizen panel conclusions that are defining 8 core values for the future virtual worlds and for the cityverse. This is a very nice initiative, actually, that was promoted by the Commission and the GRC, or Joint Research Center, trying to consult citizens at the onset of our policy definition. And they decided, after having very long and passionate conversations about what the cityverse and what virtual worlds should be for us in the specific cultural, social, environmental context, they have defined 8 values that I would like to read for you. The first one is freedom of choice. The second one is sustainability. We don't forget the other goals, sustainable development goals. Of course, they have to be human-centered. They have to also mention health as a very important pillar of the development of virtual worlds. Education and literacy, we've mentioned this before. Safety and security, because there's a lot of issues related to data, of course. Transparency in the regulations, but also in the aspects that have to do with access to personal data, psychological and physical impacts, the use of data by third parties, and so on. And finally, inclusion. So I think that these are already very good elements to, let's say, steer the design of the technologies and to make informed choices when it comes to regulating and when it comes to adopting those standards. And so now coming to use cases, because we are working in the area of smart cities, we see a lot of potential, of course, for providing public services, for providing cultural services, to support education, not only in school but also life education, professional education opportunities. We think that there will be a lot of interesting use cases in the area of industry. We know already that they were, by the way, very advanced in this domain, and most of the technology that we're using to develop the cityverse is actually coming from the industry digital twin sector. We also hope that, as we heard before, that in the health sector, this technology will promote, a safer, and perhaps it will avoid a surgery when not necessary. So this is the type of use cases that we can fund with our Digital Europe program. We're, by the way, building a digital twin of the human body, which is a very, very challenging project, but probably not as challenging as the one of the digital planet. So we are also developing and funding together with the European Space Agency and with the other agencies in Europe, which have to do with the Copernicus and the weather and climate sectors. We're building what we call a digital replica of Earth, called Destination Earth, which will help us to develop, new knowledge and hopefully develop new scenarios and algorithms to understand what is coming. And all that, hopefully in the future, will be connected to all these digital environments that we are funding through the Smart Cities program. So altogether, trying to keep a link with the physical environment, trying to make sense out of this technology, so always making sure that it will bring benefits and that we can measure those benefits ex ante. So let's not forget the necessity to come up with indicators to measure the well-being that Pilar was calling, or to measure the impact on education, to measure the impact on social inclusion, to make sure that we indeed have all the ages represented in this all the region in Europe. So this is just to give you a number of elements which I think can also contribute to the debate and make sure that not only industry but member states align together behind this vision of a much more, let's say, citizen-centric type of technology.
Thank you, Christina. And so maybe I pass the word over to our hosts. So from the Latvian perspective, do you have any initiatives, or maybe do you see a call for action to either metaverse ecosystem or the industry? How do we make all this happen?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I very like our discussion, because we had this discussion of bones and the soul, not only about the bones. If we take like a human, a pure biological organism, it will be one discussion, but now we have this. And I think, I believe that we discussed those ecosystems which form how we develop the ecosystem. We mentioned the cities, the service providers, and so I think that one thing that we have to put more attention to is those social science aspects, bring those people very close to this development, and the anthropologists, social science. We have also an example that in Latvia, one of the youth psychologists used virtual reality to love young people more engaged in discussions, and so they had like a better performance when they use this technology in some of the cases. So, but in Latvia, yes, we, as I mentioned, we in previous year we started this memorandum of understanding, and we see that there are different partners which are very eager to participate from the industry, telecom side, from also the companies which work as in the fields as a virtual reality for medicine, for military health, like or the test site that I mentioned, where it's more about how augmented reality can assist in helping to do some like care repairing and such things like that. And but where it's all comes together, I think it's in specific like use cases, pilot cases, and we're happy that we have several municipalities that are very eager to participate. The Riga municipality, also the Riga, which is doing some things, and so we are happy and open for different partners to come together and to see what we can make together and how we can develop this ecosystem further using specific use cases already in Latvia.
Thanks, Gatis. So we don't have so much more time, so short answers. Christina, what are the challenges that we need to address now?
Accessibility, inclusion. And I'm delighted to announce, actually, Pilar and myself, we have been working together to get a Metaverse for All survey approved by the ITU, and a big thanks to our ITU colleagues. So that's going to be made publicly available next week. So I would like to encourage and invite all of you to participate to see how we can use technology to address the digital divides between people from different cultural backgrounds, from different age groups, because we really want to maximize the positive impact of technology like Metaverse to benefit all of us for a beautiful society moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Christina. Pilar.
I want to have labels. Labels developed for indicators, as Christina was saying. So if I access if I access Metaverse, I would know how trustful it would be. So I would have, I don't know, ticks or red. Well, I hope they don't put green and red, because 10% of men are colorblind. So I hope the Metaverse avoids green and red. So that's the first thing, that it would be an intelligent Metaverse. Which is...
Or individually adjustable.
Well, yeah. Or individually adjustable. But labels that I know that it is very interactive, labels that I know that it is, labels that inform people on what is that I am consuming. Label that I would tell me that you are a verified avatar, or you are not a verified. Come on.
Sure.
I want to know who I'm talking to.
Yes, of course.
So, are you a verified avatar? Then am I interacting with a verified avatar, or am I interacting with a chatbot from who I don't know where is it from, and I don't know who is, where is the information coming from?
Pilar, one day I think you don't care.
But with all these aspects,
Honestly, you will probably talk to bots which you like better than humans.
Well, if you knew my son, you would agree to that now.
Okay, no, I don't. No, I don't think so.
okay, so we are getting very close. So, as a last exercise, I ask you panelists to close your eyes. Close your eyes. That means these. And then, could you just imagine how many years until the metaverse has reached mass market? And could you hold up the number of fingers from both your hands, maybe? How many years until metaverse has reached mass market? Also online, please. Thank you. So we have we have some time still to work on this to make it right. And so I want to invite everyone that is not participating in the focus group on Metaverse. It's run by the ITU, and as we heard by Christina, the counselor earlier, it's the largest group actually working on the Metaverse currently. It's free for all, it doesn't cost anything, it's open to all, and it's run by the ITU. So please welcome, and I want to thank all my panelists for this very interesting and partially lively debate. Thank you very much.
Some of us did close the eyes, so what was the average number?
Okay, I do have a background in math, so I should be able to calculate an average. I just wasn't able to record all the numbers, but I saw everything from, I think, Christina, you were on the lower end?
10 years.
Oh, you were 10 years? Okay, because I saw 10 years down at
Even
from the
I said
commission.
I had 10.
Okay.
I said 0.
Yeah.
It's also 10.
You said how much?
It was Walter.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're there now.
Okay,
okay.
so mass market, another decade, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to the panel and
good,
to the
very good.
pair himself as a moderator.